Interestingly, there were some comments that Mr. Qureshi had made the first evening, which I'm not completely sure that the army would have been delighted about either. So there were some people who said that maybe he got a couple of phone calls late at night. I mean, his references to Kashmir, for example, elected government of Kashmir, describing Omar Abdullah in those terms. Do you think it's possible that he also went a bit too far for his domestic constituency in Pakistan?
Well, the issue is that once you get into a blame game, in a blame game, India cannot come out looking good. It can only come out looking poorer, especially in a blame game vis-a-vis Pakistan. So India has cut a sorry figure, actually.
Okay, what should India do now as a subject? So I'm about to come to both of you on Praveen.
I think there's a bigger problem here that we need to think about. I'm not meaning to be facetious, but there's a famous mathematical problem which a man called Friedrich Euler solved 200 years ago. See, there's a town called Königsberg, and there's 7 bridges in that town. And for the longest time, everyone went running around trying to figure out a way to cross these 7 bridges without going over one again. People spent centuries at it. And then Euler came around, Friedrich Euler, and mathematically proved that there was no solution to this problem. You had to knock down one bridge or build another bridge. I think there's some lessons in this, and we really need to ask ourselves if, in fact, this thing we call the India-Pakistan problem is solvable, or whether it's just one of those unhappy things that both of us have to learn to live with for the time being.
And not look for a solution.
And not look for grand solutions, because every time we reopen these grand dialogues, we go forth looking for, and this is, the press is to blame as much as anyone else for this, but we go forth looking for some grand solution, and every time we're disappointed.
Tarun Vijay, that I think is, I mean, the BJP has made 2 points, actually. You said that why are we talking to Pakistan at all? We should call off the talk.
See, why are we talking?
Okay.
You see, what's the use of these talks?
All right, fine. It's a slightly different way of putting it. Okay, yeah. So I'm putting it in the
we were always for the dialogue. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying there should be. So what are you saying? There should be a dialogue. There should not be a dialogue. Well, frankly, you also tried it. The BJP has tried it. You spoke. Then you said we can't talk. Then you said we will talk. Then you said we can't talk. What do you think we should do?
The 100th time the Pakistanis have again proved that they are foolishly arrogant, unreliable people whom we cannot just have any kind of a dialogue. If they can insult or humiliate a person who is a guest on their soil, Pakistan should be out of our immediate attention. We have several problems. The radar should be fixed more on our domestic problems and our northern neighbor like China. So Pakistan should not get more attention than it deserves. It's a client state of Washington at the mercy of dollars and Washington's military power. They only understand paisa and military. They don't understand any other language. Okay. So be tough and and give attention to our domestic problems,
Tom,
and be militarily strong. Be militarily strong and tell Pakistanis, behave, otherwise we will be forced to have some kind of economic sanctions, or we are not going to have this kind of a dialogue which ends up in mangoes or this Qureshi talk. He was very rude and foolishly arrogant. Why should we have any dialogue with these kind of people?
Okay, now these kind of people are sort of looking at you with a certain amount of bemusement right now. Mr. Gohar Ayub Khan or Mr. Asad Durrani, which of you would like to answer what Tarun Vijay has just said?
And if that is the thinking, then by all means, I would agree that there was no need to have this round. I think this round took place primarily to give the impression that India was not the main obstruction, but I think there is a bigger problem that I can start with. Peacemaking would help a little more than not making it. Since both the countries right now, India more than Pakistan, is in a position to continue with the status quo, no talks, only the cosmetics of talks, then there would be no progress. We will find one reason or the other to scuttle them. In this particular case, this is something that we experienced a long time ago. That if you,
I think Praveen alluded to it in a sense, and Mr. Tarun Vijay said it more directly. And I think it said, what is the point? I think what he said is, what is the point?
Just a second. We Indians have always walked an extra mile, whether it was a Congress government or an NDA government. We have always tried to be peaceful with them, whether it was Kargil or whether it was 65 or whether it was Tashkent or whether it was a Shimla agreement or Swarn Singh Bhutto talks. Every time we have always walked an extra mile, and every time we have been backstabbed by Islamabad.